Today's episode is brought to you by Wealth Nutrition. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Daily Grind. I am your host, Colin Morgan, and 5 days a week, I aim to motivate, educate, and inspire you to live the life of your dreams. I interview some of the most successful and inspiring people, along with sharing insight of my own, in order for you to not only be successful in what you're doing, but prosper in business and life. This show is for grinders, people who don't just have dreams, but are willing to lay it all on the line and grind for what they want. Welcome, everyone, to the Daily Grind.
The biggest thing is getting real clear cut on your message. I feel like a lot of times, people start doing, but they never take time to kind of self-reflect and figure out what do they want to put out there, right? What image do they want to portray about their personal image? And if you're not clear on that, what can happen is you can kind of get sporadical and all over the place, and you're actually putting a message out there that's confusing people.
I am always experimenting with new ways to stay focused and keep my energy level high throughout the day. As an entrepreneur, I know that this is paramount to my success. I recently discovered a new supplement that has solved this key issue for me. Focus 5 by Wealth Nutrition not only keeps me focused, but gives me the energy to stay motivated throughout my day while maintaining a positive mindset. See, most supplements for me really don't help, never have, and make me more jittery than anything else. I haven't had any of those issues while on Focus 5. So if you want to try Focus 5 for 50% off for all Daily Grind listeners, all you have to do is visit focusfi.com. Again, that is FOCUSFI.com. Happy Monday, everyone, and welcome back to the Daily Grind. On today's episode, I'm bringing you a rock star entrepreneur. His name is Ryan White. Ryan is a 7-figure digital entrepreneur, influencer, investor, press contributor, and speaker. Ryan founded the globally recognized social media marketing company Social Revelation, which helps business and personal brands increase their digital footprint and brand awareness online. Ryan's company manages the social media strategy for several 7 to 8 figure earners who are top performers within their industry. He has curated a personal online network of around 500,000 people from all around the world. Ryan has also been featured on various entrepreneurial and business podcasts, such as Entrepreneur on Fire, Underdog Empowerment, Blast the BS, No Excuse Show, and on the live television show Good Morning La La Land in West Hollywood. Today on the Daily Grind, Ryan shares his amazing entrepreneurial journey with us. So as always, be sure to sit back, grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, and dive deep in today's interview with Ryan White. Enjoy, everyone. Well, Ryan White, welcome to the Daily Grind. How are you today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I appreciate you for having me, and I look forward to dropping some value to your audience base.
Of course. Well, we look forward to all the information, insight you're going to provide us here, Ryan. And if you wouldn't mind, say for some listeners being first introduced to you today, Ryan, just kind of in your own words, sharing a little bit more of who you are and what it is that you do.
Yeah, for sure. So again, I'm Ryan White. I'm from a small town, Lakeland, Georgia, a town of about 3,300 people, so not very big. There's a joke that we say a lot, that there's not even a red light in our town. We actually have a stop sign in front of the courthouse, and so that also kind of comes with the privilege of me graduating as with a class of only 92 students.
Wow.
That's literally how small it is. So when I tell people, I was my high school salutatorian, they're like, oh man, that's amazing. You must be the smartest kid. And I'm like, but there was only 92 kids. And so we always get a pretty good laugh out of that. And, but anyway, I was a private baseball instructor from 2013 up until 2017 when I launched. Yes, and then I launched kind of on the side as a part-time gig my social media and digital marketing company called Social Revelation, and now here in 2019 we are working on our second full fiscal year. So 2018 was actually our first full year where I actually went full-time into this, and we've had some pretty good success with that.
Amazing. So as a baseball instructor, obviously you grew up with an athletic background, right?
100%, yes.
So was baseball your sort of primary sport?
Yes, it was. Now, kind of growing up all the way through high school, I was a baseball, basketball, and football guy, but 100% baseball kind of took priority. My entire family. So I'm actually the middle child of three boys, and so
Okay.
my older brother, myself, and my younger brother all, grew up playing baseball. My dad was actually my high school baseball coach. Played collegiately, played a little semi-pro ball, and so you can imagine, being the coach's son, there was a lot of pressure there
Yeah.
naturally. And so, I've been holding a bat and ball in my hand though since I, could walk. So, and then now, my younger brother's actually he's 8 years younger than me. Me being 28, he just turned 20, and he's actually in his sophomore year of college baseball now. So, very much a baseball background family.
Awesome. So speaking of that, because I was into sports as well, and I'm always fascinated. Like for you growing up playing sports, how do you think that prepared you for doing what you're doing now in business and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, for sure. It definitely played a huge role. I don't think I would be where I am today without it, just because of the competitive nature that comes with that. And then, just kind of having even the magnifying glass from my father, being my coach and wanting me therefore to kind of lead by example and, kind of push my peers to kind of come with me and be better and that sort of thing. I felt like I was under a lot more scrutiny from him and kind of in that spotlight. A lot earlier and a lot more in depth than just a normal player, right, playing for my dad. And so as I was constantly pushed to be the best version of myself, to go as far as my career would take me, I definitely think everything that I learned in terms of a worth ethic kind of translated into the business world 100%.
Absolutely. So fast forward, you become this private baseball instructor, and on the side, you're sort of dabbling in internet marketing. Is that right?
Yeah, so as I was a private baseball instructor, another kind of job that I had working for Five Star National down in Warner Robins, Georgia, was they put me over the social media marketing campaign for the company.
Okay.
And because there wasn't really one in place at all, and so it was kind of my job to come in and just bring the millennial or the younger outlook on this whole digital marketing thing, because everyone else I was working with, was 40s, 50s, and a lot older than myself. So being the youngest on the team, naturally, I was kind of chosen for that role. And so just, wanting to be competitive and be the best in anything that I do, naturally, I started doing a ton of research and was able to get some pretty good traction for them. And then it just kind of got to the point to where I was getting such good results. I was thinking to myself, if I can do this for them, why would I not be able to go replicate these results for myself?
So when
that was really
when you
realized when the wheels started turning.
Exactly. So the wheels start turning for you. What was next? What did you do next when you realized like this is working here? Now maybe it can work for me. What are some steps you took?
So really, it started with massive action. I'm a big Grant Cardone fan.
Same here.
He's kind of my guy. Yeah, we're perfect. We're going to relate, I'm sure, on a lot of different things. But outside of me actually coaching and instructing, so private instruction, lasts when kids are out of school, right, from about 3 to 8 p.m. Well, anywhere from 9 p.m. to say midnight every night, I was spending all my free time pretty much researching anything I could find about how to grow a personal brand and all this sort of stuff, like through Instagram and Facebook and all these other platforms that are out there. And I was doing that, and then also kind of looking in the market and seeing who was already killing it, right? What was working for them, and then how could I put my own kind of personal touch on it to generate even better results than they were getting. And so it was through this kind of trial and error and research time period of over 3 to 6 months when I started to stumble across some things that just kind of worked very, very, very well. And at one point I was telling people, man, I was able to grow my personal Instagram like 10,000 new followers per month.
Wow.
All real, all organic. And so naturally that brought a lot of attention to me, right? And so people started reaching out going, hey man, how are you doing this? Can you do this? And can you replicate those results for me? And so then it just got to be to where I was hustling this thing. Yeah, I would love to kind of use you as a testimony, right? And so I started going to, at the time, my girlfriend, and it was working for her. I went to, my younger brother. It started working for him. And then naturally, I got involved with, this Telegram app, which, as most people know, is just a huge kind of hub for millennials and people who are interested in social media marketing.
Yep.
People kind of gather there, and naturally I got involved with a ton of people that I realized I could provide value to. And then as I started kind of working with more people, and I was just literally hustling the whole thing. Like, hey, I'll do it for free. Give me $5, $10, $15. I was just, again, it was a hobby.
Yeah.
And after about 3 months time, I realized, because the way that it was working was that if I partnered with you, I was putting everyone in like this personal group, right, on Telegram, so
Okay.
like a little community. And what I would do was I would post weekly results in there to just generate excitement about what was going on. And then after 3 to 6 months of me doing this, I realized I had over 100 people in this group. And so that was kind of when the light bulb went off, and I was like, wow, there's value here. We should probably start a business.
No doubt. So, you're an expert in this, and I think a lot of people realize nowadays the importance of building a personal brand. No matter what you're doing, whether you're selling a service or selling a product, it should definitely be at the top in terms of your priority list and ensuring that you're doing that. So for people out there who are getting started, Ryan, what are some pieces of advice? Like what are some things you did, and what do you feel like can help others when like right in the early stages of their wanting to now build their personal brand out?
For sure. The biggest thing is getting real clear cut on your message. I feel like a lot of times, people start doing, but they never take time to kind of self-reflect and figure out what do they want to put out there, right? What image do they want to portray about their personal image? And if you're not clear on that, what can happen is you can kind of get sporadical and all over the place, and you're actually putting a message out there that's confusing people.
Yeah.
And so the first thing is just, if you're wanting to be, it could be, hey, I want people to see me as a Christian and as a faith individual, right? Or it could be, I want to be someone who's inspiring and motivating, or I want to be, a fitness advocate. Whatever that may be, you just need to get clear. And then, once that vision happens and you know exactly where you want to go in the next 30, 60, 90 days, and even the next 10 years, then you can kind of structure your whole bio, and then the content that you're going to be creating to put out into the world can kind of streamline into that end goal. So that's kind of the very first thing that you have to get clear on, is just who you are and how you want others to perceive you.
And how much content, like in your opinion, should someone be putting out?
It depends on specifically what platform we're talking about.
Okay.
But, I'm an Instagram. Most people know me from Instagram. And so I tell people, worst case scenario, at least, 3 times a week. That's kind of like bare minimum.
Okay.
I try to tell people to post at least every day, at least once a day. And I know sometimes that's challenging for people, but the reality is the Instagram algorithm actually rewards people for activity, right? Every social media platform out there wants people who are active and engaging and using their platform. So naturally, how do they spark that? The more you use it, you get rewarded in the algorithm. You start to reach more people, and so therefore people naturally want to post more content and be more active. So that's kind of how it's broken down. I'm trying to get even more involved myself, simply because if I can't post an actual feed post to my Instagram every day because of just my time restrictions or whatever it may be, I still could leverage Instagram stories, right? Because it only takes 15 seconds to upload an Instagram story, and we all have at least 15 seconds. So it's still a great way that we can connect with our audience and still be putting out fresh content without actually having to go and generate a full post.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And, this is something that obviously you have learned, it's tried and tested, you learn from others. And, one thing I'm interested in, Ryan, is, you got introduced to social media marketing at a young age. You started to do it for yourself. But, what I like to always share with people is, and I'm sure you know too, there's not always ups. There's some downs as well, right? Like, I'm sure this was a lot of trial and error for you. If you wouldn't mind kind of sharing some of those stories with us today.
Yeah, so again, I would say that the first 2 months that I put into this, I really didn't create a whole lot of traction for myself. Mm-hmm. And I think it was a large part of because I was just kind of focused on the doing. But you have to have, again, you have to have an end goal, right? There's a saying that states, you can't hit a target that's not there.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I was spending the first 2 months, just dumping all this time and energy into something, but I wasn't gaining a whole lot of traction because my end goal was displaced. And so it was, at the time when I started, I was still a baseball guy.
Okay.
So it wasn't until I started really focusing on like posting content of me interacting with my client, actually showing them a behind the scenes look into what I'm doing each day, and just putting out, baseball specific stuff, and then going after people who are inside my target audience base, right, of people who are interested in baseball, and kind of pairing that together when I actually started kind of moving the car out of the mud. So, but the first 2 months, yeah, I mean, and that's why when you ask me the best piece of advice is you have to get clear cut on, what it is you want to put out there, how you want people to perceive you, and then where are those people located, okay?
Yeah.
Because, and once you streamline all of that, then you'll start to notice some traction taking place.
And what are some daily behaviors that you think you had, especially early on, to keep you persistent and being able to take massive action? Because as we all know, we don't just start a business and make money, right? Like there's kind of like that period there where it's like, you go through that self-doubt. Is this working? Am I doing the right thing? So for you, what are some daily behaviors that really work for you?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I say for me, it's consistency, and with this, I always like to use an analogy that I picked up a few months ago, I think from Andy Frisella, but it's the analogy of that can be used with any kind of goal that I'm trying to reach, and I don't know if you've heard it, Colin, or not, but it's the analogy of an axe, right? So an axe is basically, it's one of the best tools in America that we have. It actually, shaped our entire landscape of our country.
Yeah.
Okay. But the problem is if it just lays there on the floor, it's not going to do a whole lot. And so it's actually when you take the axe and you put, effort behind the axe, if I'm trying to, so let's just use the analogy of this tree is whatever goal it is that I'm trying to hit.
Yep.
Okay. And then the axe is my tool. Once we pick the axe up and we put effort into the axe, then we can start gaining some traction. And then the second thing that you want to do with the axe is we have to be consistent. So when I wake up every day, I'm very much have a consistent schedule that for the most part I stick to day in and day out. There's not a whole lot of kind of alleviation from that plan.
Okay.
So again, when we have effort and we're kind of coupling that with being consistent, right? So we're hitting this tree in the same spot every single day. All right. And then the third thing is, along the way, we have to take enough time to sharpen our axe, which in my case is my mind. Right. So every day, one of the first things I do when I get up, after I do my scripture reading, is I put on a podcast, whether it's, just a single episode kind of gets me going. And then so if I'm inside of an audiobook, I may listen to a couple chapters in that audiobook or whatever it may be in business and entrepreneurship. It's this whole personal development concept where I have to keep my mind sharp, because again, it doesn't matter how much effort I'm putting into this axe and how consistent I'm being. If it's not sharp enough, right, the odds are I'm not going to get anywhere as fast as I want to get there. And then the final thing is obviously just understanding the concept of time. So we all live in a world where where get rich quick. We see it everywhere we turn, right? But It's this concept of no matter how much effort I put in, no matter how consistent I am hitting that tree in the same spot, and no matter how sharp my axe is, it's still going to take a certain amount of time before that tree is going to fall down, or in our analogy, before we're going to reach whatever goal that may be. So I think for me, it goes back to kind of all of that, but mainly consistency and just having a positive kind of flow into my life through podcasts and audiobooks each month, I think was crucial to me being able to get to where I am today.
Yeah, totally. And it's what you mentioned before. Obviously, it's what you keep preaching is the fact, like, you need an end goal. You need something to work towards, because that allows you to be able to put in that consistency. Why do you think so many people struggle with that? Like, so many people have all this energy, but then they kind of get bottlenecked down because they're unable to get clear on that end goal.
Exactly. I think it's honestly because, we're advertised to in so many different ways, and there's so many ways to literally make money these days. We kind of get, we start in something over here, and then, we hear about a 19-year-old kid who's doing millions of dollars over here.
Totally.
Maybe it's creating a podcast like you. So one of your friends goes, well, Colin's making good money and doing big things with his podcast. Maybe I'll dabble in that. And then, this other kid's doing drop shipping and 6-7 figure earner. So I'm going to try to dabble in that. And so for me, I heard something from John Lee Dumas in one of his interviews, especially at our age, the younger generation, there's just so many ways to make money, and we're advertised to all the time that very quickly we can overextend ourselves. Okay. And it's this whole concept of we try to get 1,000 miles wide, which only allows us to go an inch deep, versus focusing on only staying an inch wide and figuring out how we can go 1,000 miles deep in whatever subject that may be.
Yeah. And that's so true for everything, because it's that shiny object syndrome. And especially when you're like trying to figure out what it is that you want to do, it's so easy to go on the internet and look at this guy starting an e-commerce business. There's a podcast, let's be a coach. Like it's so easy to do, but it's going back to kind of what you said. It's like having an understanding and self-awareness of yourself to like have a core set of principles that you now can look back on and now make those decisions based on those principles that you have.
100%. And it's just because, everyone's an expert, and there's a course to literally teach you pretty much anything that you want to go out and do today. Yeah. And so if you're not clear cut on what it is that you're truly passionate about, which is a totally different conversation, you got to find the passion. If you find the passion, then you'll find the money, because you're going to put massive action because it makes you happy every day and it's something you care about.
And for you, how much emphasis do you put into mentorship or educating yourself, like you taking courses and things like that, reaching out to people who you view as the person that's sitting in the chair you ultimately want to sit in?
Right. I place tremendous amount of value on that. Like I said, even when I was a private baseball instructor, one of my mentors, was Andy Burris. He was the owner of a 5-star national. And so he kind of had a similar story to me. He was drafted, by the Reds as a catcher. Obviously, had surgery on his knee, so that ended his career prematurely. And so, with that adversity, he transitioned into creating, now one of the biggest travel organizations in the world, and he's basically created a culture that people want to be a part of. And I think now he has a presence in like 16 different states. And so very quickly, kind of being under that and him taking me under my wing, for the 4 or 5 years that I was there, it just opened my eyes into how big mentorship was, because he was a mentor, although maybe at that time, whereas I kind of saw myself as just an employee, I was realizing now, kind of in hindsight, that he was actually mentoring me through all those years. And I picked up a lot of things by watching him do the things that he did. And then now, as I moved into entrepreneurship, Grant being my guy, and going back to how big I think it is on just the positivity flow, into your life through personal development and podcasts and audiobooks. If Grant puts something out, I'm pretty much all over it, right? Yeah. And so, and it's just this understanding that the more you can rank up from people who are already doing where you're trying to go, you can cut that learning curve in half by just buying into and into the things that they're saying, but also going out and seeking that information. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. And it's like, I always find it so funny because, like, how many podcasts are there? And literally, someone like yourself, Ryan, could be on a podcast and you could go through a whole bunch. You could probably find, 10 opportunities where you could actually sit down and speak with a lot of these people who you view as mentors for about 10 minutes. And all you have to do is just listen and take that action. But most people actually just don't do it for some reason.
Right, and that's what's crazy is, you look at the Casey Adams of the world even, and, we live in a day and age to where with social media, we have the power to connect with pretty much anyone on the planet, right? And he built his whole podcast at 19 years old by simply leveraging the power of Instagram DMs and being consistent with that. So I'm sure if you got him on here and you talked to Casey, I'm sure he, got several no's, but it was his persistency, in reaching out, and always this idea of ranking up, I'm going to eventually get a yes, and buying into that concept, which now has allowed him to interview some of the greats. And now he has one of the more powerful, podcasts that there are in business at such a young age. And it seems that you've kind of went out and done the exact same thing. And so I commend you for that as well.
Thanks, man. Well, you being 28 years old, obviously you're still young. You got lots, ahead of you. But I'm wondering if you could take a step back and maybe go back 10 years and talk to an 18-year-old version of yourself and offer yourself a piece of advice or piece of guidance. I'm wondering what that would be for you.
Yeah, I would say, honestly, it would be, the power, of networking, which we've talked about, because 100% what changed my life, because again, growing up in the South, we're beat with this whole idea that, that you have to go to college and you have to go work for someone else, right? Like it's the only way, so to speak. And it was really starting to network with some other people who my age who had, who were doing things that I kind of aspired to do, right? So I connected with some individuals who were in Detroit, Michigan, and for the first time in my life going to visit them while I was still working my 9 to 5, the veil of the whole, living in the South was for the first time revealed of this whole world of entrepreneurship, and there is a different way. You can go create financial freedom for yourself, right? You don't have to necessarily go and spend, the next 30, 40 years of your life helping make someone else rich off of your efforts, so to speak. And so that was really all I knew. And so I would just say, the power of networking, because it changed my life. Number 2 would just be, get started earlier. I feel like now, in hindsight, 28 years old, just looking in an 18-month period, how I went from a 9 to 5 worker who was making, very middle class, wages, 50 grand a year, which again, in America, I realize that's still a good salary base, but it wasn't what I, as a 10-year-old boy, aspired to make and create for myself. I would say get started earlier, because again, in 18 months, I've been able to scale this to a 7-figure company through the power of networking and through personal development and through this concept of ranking up. And I feel like we make excuses for ourselves a lot of the times, like,
Totally.
and that being, if I'm 18, 19 years old, it's, well, my parents tell me that I need to go to college and, I need to have a 4-year degree and I need to go become a school teacher. That's an excuse. This whole concept too of, well, I need to work for someone because my situation's different. I don't necessarily have the upbringing that you do or the resources that your parents did to even send you to college, or I have a family member who's sick. Again, another excuse. So, because everybody's come-up story is different. But the fact is, every single entrepreneur has a come-up story. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is you just have to get started so that you, in the next 2 to 3 years can look back and be telling your testimony to a young entrepreneur. And now they're looking to you for that inspiration.
100%. So for people out there, Ryan, who want to learn to take massive action, who kind of almost want to learn from you to go from 9 to 5 to entrepreneurship, financial freedom, where's the best place they can go?
Yeah, so they can check out my personal website, which is just officialryanwhite.com. My Instagram handle, which I'm very active on daily as well, is just @RyanWhite. So, and then sometimes people are like, can you spell that because you're Southern drawl? So, but it's just RyanWhite. So sometimes, with my Southern accent, people are like, man, did you say Wyatt or White? And I'm like, no, it's white like the color. So it's just @RyanWhite. And yeah, if you connect with me on Instagram or through my website, 100% you'll hear back from me.
Awesome. And if people want to learn more about social media, the power of that, where else can they go?
So we actually just dropped a brand new Instagram mastery course for all those who are looking to, kind of grow faster through the Instagram platform and maybe even get into monetizing the space. You can check that out at officialmasterycourse.com/grind.
Amazing. Everyone, that is officialmasterycourse.com/grind, and also officialryanwhite.com. Follow him on Instagram. I'm going to share all these links to make it super simple for you to connect with Ryan. Be sure you check out that course. I believe that building a personal brand, having an audience is the most important thing that you can do, especially if you're starting out or if you're in business. It needs to be your top priority, so be sure to do that. And now, Ryan, the way we end the show here on the Daily Grind is I'm going to give you the floor, and you have the opportunity today to share with our audience the thought of the day. So one thing or one thought that we can all go home with today.
100%. I would say it's just the power of creating momentum. It's this idea that no matter what it is that I'm trying to achieve, sometimes we don't allow ourselves to take steps forward because we don't really know how or where to get started, and we feel like doing that one thing that we have on our mind to do is too minuscule for us to go out and do it. Like, that's not going to make a difference. But I always use this snowball example, right? So just picture Mount Everest, and we have a snowball sitting on top of the mountain.
Yeah.
And the only way to get that thing going and to start developing that momentum is to go out and do, right? Don't get focused on the exactly what it is that you're doing. Just do, because it was the doing that actually got me to where I am sitting here now in 2019. And so you just need a little bit of a push to get that snowball, over that cliff and to start rolling down that mountain. And naturally, so no matter how small of a task or feat you think it is that you're going out and do, just do it, because once that snowball gets rolling, it's only going to build momentum as it goes downhill. And then what's going to happen is you're going to look back 6 to 12 months down the road, and you're going to really, kind of take notice of how far you've came.
Yeah, you got it. I love that. Just do it, everyone. It's like the Nike slogan, right? Just do it.
Exactly. 100%. So simple, but so powerful.
Absolutely. Well, as you can see from this interview, everyone, success is driven by passion, hunger, and today taking massive action. Everyone has to overcome obstacles. Everyone has a story. Start building yours today. Today, again, we had the chance to speak with the amazing Ryan White. Ryan, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule and coming on the show here with us today.
I appreciate you for having me, Colin, and I know that your audience got a ton of value here, and I can't wait to collaborate more in the future.
They sure did. I look forward to it. The pleasure was all mine. And everyone, if you liked today's episode, you found value in it, please hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment, share it with your friends. Until next time, Colin Morgan signing off, and always remember to keep on grinding.